Okay, so you probably think when you have a thought like my kid was being disrespectful or that guy was being really rude at the grocery store, that those thoughts are just observations you're making about the world, that they're true. And I'm going to tell you in this video why that is completely wrong, why your thoughts are not necessarily true. I'm Ashley Jangro. Welcome back to my YouTube channel where we focus on building up moms' mental wellness so that they have the strength, the skills, the strategies, and the support they need to raise mentally strong kids. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about why our brains are huge liars, why they present things to us as fact, and those things, those thoughts that they present to us are simply one of an infinite number of possible interpretations we could have about a situation. And I'm going to use a really simple, a very simplified example to emphasize this to you. So, for example, if you wake up and you see that it's raining outside, how you interpret that, how you perceive that, determines how you feel about it. So you might look outside and you see it's raining and you have a thought like, oh, this is going to make all my errands so hard. I cannot even get anything done today. And this means that I have to pull out the raincoats and the rain boots. And it feels like such a burden. And it creates this feeling inside your body that's uncomfortable. And that determines how you show up as the kids wake up, as you're getting them ready for school. It determines, how you act, what actions you take. And then it creates the results in life. Maybe things are uncomfortable in the morning. Maybe kids are fighting more. Maybe, you leave, they leave for school and you feel like, oh, I just wish I hadn't acted that way. Alternatively, if you wake up and you see that it's raining and you're like, oh, this is so cozy. I'm going to make a fire. I'm going to turn on the fireplace. I'm going to bundle the kids up and they're going to be all toasty warm and we're going to have a fun drive to school and it'll be cozy in our car and I'll have the heat on and we'll feel all cozy. You show up differently. You act differently and you have different results as you go through your day. Without bringing that interpretation of the rain into your awareness, it may feel just like it's fact. It's raining outside. This is terrible. It's going to give me a bad day. But if you become aware of it and you realize, oh, hold on, I'm interpreting it in a way that's going to ultimately provide results I don't like, you can begin to challenge that thought. You can begin to shift your thinking. Now, this may be something you want to do about a rainy day, but there are certainly circumstances in your life where you don't just want a thought swap, where you don't just want to come up with a thought that will make you feel better in your body. We don't want to just change your perspective. We'll get to that later. But right now, I want to focus on those situations where if you chose to switch your thought, to switch your perception of a situation, it would ultimately give you the results that you're hoping for. It would ultimately make you feel better in your body, and you would ultimately feel better more often in general. So I want to give you a couple examples of how you can do this. When you're having a thought that creates a vibration in your body, an emotion that's uncomfortable, you can go back and you can look at that thought. And I call it bring it to investigation. So what this looks like is whenever I am feeling uncomfortable in my body, I stop and I'm like, okay, things don't feel great right now. What is my feeling? I name it. And then I'm like, what thought is creating this feeling? If the feeling's really intense, I'll stop and I'll take the time to process it, to allow it to dissipate. But if it's just, something uncomfortable, then I want to stop and I want to say, okay, what thought is driving this? And I want to use the example of thinking that my kids are being disrespectful. So I can think of an example that just happened a couple of weeks ago where I had asked them repeatedly to put away their laundry. And finally, it was, by Monday, they still hadn't done it over the weekend. And I told them, okay, Wednesday, ultimate deadline, like you need to have your laundry put away. And I went in their room. I think I have a picture of this somewhere on my Instagram, but I went in their room and there were still baskets full of laundry. And I was like, they're so disrespectful. They do not care that I have to, deal with this. They don't care that I've asked them repeatedly. And that felt really gross in my body. I think the emotion was, I'm trying to remember exactly what I named it, but it was probably something like loneliness, that they didn't have respect for me. It may have felt something like failure as a parent because I hadn't raised kids that would do as I asked. And so I stopped and I thought, hold on, I do not like this feeling. I need to investigate this thought. And I recognize the thought is my kids are disrespectful. They don't care about me. And so I wanted to isolate those two different thoughts and then take it through investigation. What this looks like is I ask myself a series of questions. And I actually have a list of these questions written out that I take myself through because sometimes when your emotions are heightened, it's hard to it's hard to remember what to do. So I have all kinds of acronyms and strategies that I use to investigate my thoughts, to process my emotions. So I might ask myself, the first question I typically ask myself is, so what? So this would sound like, okay, my teens are disrespectful. So what? What does that mean for my life? Does that mean it's all over? Does that mean I can teach them? I can have conversations with them to help them increase how they're treating other people, the respect with which they're treating other people? And so what sounds like an insensitive question, but I want you to ask yourself this so gently, like, so what does that, so what does that mean for the future? Does that mean everything's over? Does that mean something terrible is going to happen? And typically it doesn't. The second question I ask myself, if the so what holds up, is it true? Is it true that my teens are disrespectful? And then I stop and I'm like, it's actually not. They're really, really good kids. And then that can just shift my thought process enough that I can come up with a different explanation. I can begin to understand a different interpretation of the situation that feels better to me. If that thought rings true to me, if I'm like, yeah, that's true, then I ask myself, can I be 100% sure that it's true? And the reason I ask this question is because I recognize this thought, my teens are disrespectful, is not serving me in life. It's not making me feel good. And how I feel determines how I show up, determines my actions, and ultimately piles up into my results in life. So I recognize this isn't a good thought that I want to have. So can I be 100% sure it's true? And typically, I'm trying to think if there's any thought I found that I can confirm it's 100% true, but I would say the majority of the time, I cannot be sure that something's true. I cannot be sure that they're feeling disrespect towards me, and that's what motivated their actions. And because I can't be 100% true and the thought is not serving me, I can ask myself, is there any good reason? Is there any stress-free reason to hang on to this thought? And that doesn't mean I can just immediately let it go. It still feels true to me because I've used that neural pathway, because it's like a super highway at this point. But just by introducing to my brain that it might not be true, I begin to give my brain permission to let go of that thought. I sort of think of that like when a child believes in Santa and Christmas seems so magical, and then they find out that Santa is not real. And they have a really hard time entering back into that magic. When I introduce to my brain that that's not even true, or at least you can't be 100% sure that it's true, I have a hard time. My brain has a hard time entering back into that place where it felt true. So even though I can't just drop the thought, it begins to loosen. I begin to let go of it. It doesn't feel so true to me. The next question I ask myself, especially if I came across one that I could be 100% true, let me try that phrase again. If I could be 100% sure that it's true, I would ask myself, what am I making it mean? And this maybe even just goes back to, what am I making the laundry baskets mean? I automatically made it mean that they disrespect me. And then I start to ask myself, what are some other possible meanings of it? What are some other possible of these infinite number of interpretations? And this is where I start to think, okay, what's true? What's real? They're really, really busy right now. I have one daughter that's in cheer. Yesterday she was gone for 14 hours. She left for school. She got home 14 hours later because they're working towards building something up for their cheer competition. My other daughter's in marching band, and it's the same thing. She has 14-hour days often. Then they come home, they still have homework. They still have a teeny tiny bit of social time with their friends on the phone. They have to eat dinner. They have chores, which is the laundry. And then I think also, maybe they just forgot. Doesn't mean they're disrespectful. They just forgot. And this particular instance really got to me because right after I was doing this, I was sitting in their room, processing my emotion, investigating my thoughts. And I walked back into my room and there was a laundry basket sitting at the end of my bed. And I remembered that I had decided, okay, I'm going to have all my laundry put away by Wednesday, especially because I'm expecting it of my kids. And it was still sitting there. And I was like, oops, I forgot. And then I realized they're just humans. They're doing the best they can. They ran out of time. They forgot. These are other possible interpretations I could have other than they are being disrespectful. They don't care about me. And those thoughts, they're just being human. They're just doing the best they can, feel a lot better in my body than my teens don't respect me. And when I feel better in my body, it changes how I show up in my day. It changes how I treat them. It changes what I do, which ultimately changes my future results. So this is a skill that's investigating my thoughts that combined with processing my emotions, which is in the previous video. These two skills have completely changed my life, where I can shift to see things from a different perspective, where I'm not afraid to feel intense emotions, even if they come up. These two skills together have been what have taken me along a mental wellness path that has changed my life, that has changed how I feel from day to day, that has given me the strength to teach these skills to my kids, because I do the exact same thing where we sit down and I help them process their emotion and then I help them investigate their thoughts. And it has changed their level of mental wellness. And they've learned these skills such that I know in the future, if they end up having kids, they will raise their kids with these skills from birth. And that just makes me so excited because that's the way that we can change generations. That's the way that I can provide a mental health legacy that will go on for generations. So this is what I teach in my Mentally Strong Moms Raise Mentally Strong Kids program. I'll put the link below. You can find information about it on my website at ashleyjanegrow.com, or I'll put the link below where you can go directly to a page that talks just about the program. But this is all the different skills and strategies that I teach. I teach them how to apply them to your own life as mom so that you are feeling mentally healthy, so that you have the mental strength, but you also have then the skills and strategies to pass on to your kids. And so you also have the support that you need to raise mentally strong, resilient kids. So I hope you'll come check that out. And I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to hearing how it's going as you process your emotions, as you investigate your thoughts, and what comes up for you.